to picture
the size of it.
Yeah, the size of like how much oh, hey, we live.
Hey
guys, how are you guys doing today? Welcome to another one of our amazing live session, because yes, they are amazing. I've decided
so modest, Robin.
So this morning we're actually pretty giddy and pretty excited because this week we have passed the 7,000 subscribers on the channel. It's so cool to have so many of you guys actually just keeping up to date with our content and planning your trip with us on board. So 7,000, thank you to you guys.
Thanks so much.
And yeah, it's just so cool. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to keep referencing that the whole morning. I'm pretty stoked about it. So yeah.
But
thank you so much.
Yeah, but if you guys are new here and haven't subscribed, make sure you do subscribe first if you are interested in New Zealand travel. But let me introduce ourselves. This is Robin and I am Laura. And together we run the huge New Zealand travel website BackpackerGuide.NZ, and it is jam-packed with everything you need to know about traveling in New Zealand, from doing working holidays to road tripping around in a camper van, all the best destinations to head to, and also a few nitty-gritty practical articles about the airports and stuff like that. So pretty much everything you need to know. But you know, if you can't be bothered reading, then we actually do this live Q&A session every single Sunday at 8 a.m. New Zealand time. I'll go through the times in just a second, but it's just around there. And yeah, so what we do every single Sunday at 8 a.m. New Zealand time, we do this live Q&A session where you guys can come and ask any question about traveling in New Zealand, and we'll be here to answer those questions for you. Otherwise,
the little board.
Otherwise, throughout the week, we also take questions in and put them into a pool of questions, which we also answer throughout this live session. So you can send us your questions on any of the comments on our YouTube videos, or any of the comments in any of our YouTube videos. Also, you can give us a private message on Facebook. Just search Backpacker Guide NZ. You can send us and put us in a mention on Twitter at BPK Guide. You can also send us a private message on Instagram, which is at BackpackerGuide.NZ. But just to remind you of the times around the world of when this live Q&A session is, so it's 8 a.m. New Zealand time on a Sunday. On Saturday, that is in the US, 2 p.m. EST or 11 a.m. PST, or in Europe, that is on a Saturday evening around 7 p.m. possibly 8 p.m. because daylight savings time. You'll just have to Google that one. And in India, that's 12:30 a.m. on a Sunday morning.
And that is confirmed on the live chat by Ranjit, which said it's midnight over there.
Excellent.
So thank you very much for staying awake with us. That's pretty cool to actually have people on board from all over the round. Very cool. And good morning, Richard Lynn as well. Yay. Yay too. All right, guys. So while you guys are getting warmed up a little bit, we are going to start with some questions that you guys send us on comments on YouTube, which is always awesome. And the first question I want to go for is the one from Richard Lynn, because he's here. So why not? Yeah. All right, cool. So on YouTube, Richard Lynn says, I have booked a trip with my girlfriend in July, and I panicked when I saw the temperatures. We are mostly on the North Island, and I'm concerned about driving and things like black ice. I've read a lot of negative comments about driving in places like Tongariro in July. Got any advice or something I should worry about? All right, so driving in winter in New Zealand. So the first thing I want to do is to talk about the black ice, because that's something that a lot of people mention, and that Richard just mentioned in his question as well. And just for you guys that don't know, black ice is actually, it's normal ice, but it's a really thin layer of ice which covers the, well, black tar on the road. And so it doesn't look like white, doesn't look like there is ice, and you basically just don't see it. So that's what black ice is. It's ice which is so thin that it just covers the whole top of the road. So yes, it does happen quite often in New Zealand, the black ice. you know, it's a common occurrence, and yes, it does get cold in New Zealand in winter, but it doesn't mean that you can't drive at all in winter. I mean, everybody, you know, the country doesn't stop. Everybody still work, and you know, everybody still travel. You guys seen us traveling around New Zealand. Sorry, you guys seen us traveling around New Zealand during our New Zealand's biggest gap year, when we did 365 activities in 365 days. So about a good fourth of that was in winter, since, you know, winter takes about a fourth of the year.
Wow.
All right, cool. So what I thought we could be doing right here is to give you some tips about driving in winter. So if you do follow our tips, and if you actually just take caution, traveling winter in New Zealand is fantastic. Laura and I love it. It's much cheaper. It's really fun. And driving doesn't have to be that scary. So for some tips about traveling in winter, on, you know, kind of icy condition, I think you want to get started? Get
Sure.
a couple more?
Okay, so you obviously need to drive a lot more carefully in winter. So a few tips for driving in winter conditions is to avoid sudden braking. This is when you can slip on the ice. Like if your wheels stop, that's when you could, if you are on ice, that's when you could be sliding away. So if you get into a bit of a scary situation, don't slam your feet on the brakes.
So it's slow and steady brake. Okay, so this is so important to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
I just want to reinforce that you do not just spine on the brake, be like, and hope you're going to stop. Usually that's when you're going to lose control, because basically the wheels are going to break, and you just you know, slide on the ice, right?
Yeah.
So you're slow and steady, so you remain in control of your vehicle. But that links to the fact that you have to have much longer safety distances. And so I'm going with the next point now. You need to have really long safety distances. When you usually think, you know, I think when you learn driving anywhere in the world, I know Richard is from Florida, for example. I think they tell you need to have 2 cars distances when you drive at 100 kilometers an hour.
So you mean the distance behind another car?
Exactly,
okay.
yeah. So you need to count 2 cars distances, right? Well, double that and make it 4, just so you have plenty of space. New Zealand roads are not busy. There's absolutely no reason to tailgate. And so just keep that in mind and make it like 4 car distances between you and the next car. So count 4 cars, and this should be a good distance. So in case you have to brake in a much slower pace, well, at least you know ending up in the vehicle in front.
Yeah.
Next tip.
Yeah, so you also need to avoid sudden direction changes. So I mean, don't do it. Yeah. Just don't all of a sudden turn your wheels super sharply. Just take it easy. It's kind of like all the tips are kind of like just drive nicely, normally, and safely. Yeah. So we've looked on leave large distances. So ways to see black ice on the road is while you're driving, just keep an eye out for any sort of shiny patches on the road. Obviously, if you are concentrating while you're driving, you'll be able to notice that quite easily. So, you know, if you see some shiny patches on the road, then, you know, start to slow right down and just take it easy.
Yeah, also look for some wet patches. So wet patches, so either it's going to look like a wet patch, but it's actually going to be a dry ice on the road, or it sometimes indicate that, well, it's kind of wet here, so some section of that road right here are going to be full of black ice. So just keep that in mind. But again, you know, we're giving you like a lot of tips right now. It's not that dangerous as long as you drive a little slower. So remember, in winter, your speed should be slower than your average in summer, right? So just keep that in mind as well. So if you drive slower, you'll be much safer.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty obvious.
And just an additional tip, if you are driving, and it has been a frosty night, avoid driving early morning and wait till the sun is out and actually melted some of the ice on the roads before you go out. So maybe if it has been icy, just save your driving till a little bit later in the morning, going into afternoon.
Wait in the afternoon,
Yeah.
All right, cool. So now the thing that you kind of want to have in your checklist for driving in winter in New Zealand, the thing that you kind of, you know, need to pack, but not really pack. But, you know, so first you're going to want to have some snow chain, especially if you want to go around the Tongariro area. It does snow in the central North Island quite a lot. So you're going to want snow chain. Now, when you fit snow chain, if you never fitted snow chain before, you can definitely, when you get your car, when you pick it up, you can actually ask the team to show you how to put the snow chain. If you do not know how to do it, don't be afraid to ask, because I'm telling you, when you're going to feel like you need a snow chain, this is not the time to learn how to do it, you know? Like they have some IKEA style manuals on every snow chain pack that tells you, you just do this, you just, it's a pain. It is genuinely a pain. So you're going to want to ask the car rental team to show you how to do it. But in short, you put the snow chain, basically you put them around the wheel, and they need to be not too loose but not too tight. So don't tighten them like super tight, and not, you need a little bit of leeway in there so things can move around. You obviously also want to have a torch, because the icy condition and the snow condition will often happen, as Laura mentioned, around night, because that's when it gets cooler. So if you drive at night, and if you're gonna need to put the snow chain, or if there is a bit of an issue and everything, you're gonna want to have the torchlight. And obviously a spare battery or two will be quite handy, just in case, for the torchlight. It's just in case, but it's always pretty good.
It's not obviously, you're not going to really need them, but in that emergency situation that could possibly occur, but not.
And speaking on emergency, you want to have your mobile phone and the radio, which is always kind of handy, so you can listen to radio and say, snowstorm is overtaking New Zealand. Again, it won't happen. Relax, but just in case, it's always good to have.
Good to have a mobile phone in case you need to contact the emergency services.
So while you drive as well in winter, do you want to
go on.
So while you drive in winter as well, it just reminded me that you want to have the headlights on even during the day, just in case. It's just because there may be some reflection. So let's say there is some black ice on the road that creates some shiny patches, and it's just maybe not clear and everything like that. So it's always easier to have the lights on, and you will find that Kiwis actually do that very much in winter, especially in the mountainous and more snowy area. Headlights on at all times, so do that as well.
And finally, make sure that if you are a bit iffy about driving, especially going into the Tongariro National Park, for instance, which is a higher level, where it is more likely to be a bit snowy, then make sure that you update yourself with the road conditions and the weather conditions as well. So a good place to go is the New Zealand Road Transport Agency website, and this gives you updated details on all the roads in New Zealand and if there's any that are closed. Also, for instance, before going in the Tongariro National Park, outside of it, there's a lot of road signs which tells you whether the road is open or closed. So obviously make sure you keep an eye on those, and keep an eye on the weather. If it's due to snow and you're kind of feeling a little bit iffy about driving in the snow, then maybe change your plans.
All right, so that's basically all our tips for traveling in New Zealand. I'm just laughing right now because Richard is making fun of Laura, saying, "Up my date? No, I love my lady." All right, cool. So that's all our tips for traveling and driving in winter in New Zealand. Again, it's not that scary. It's not a crazy thing to do, but it may be something that you're not familiar with. So make sure you keep those tips in mind. And in case of that, just reduce your speed. That's always like the number one tip that we can give people. Anyway, if you do have any questions of your own, put them in the comment below. We are here to answer all your questions every single week on Sundays. So give them to us and we'll be here. All right, going back to the live chat. Good morning, Kieran. How are you guys How are you doing? Convenient mode of transportation from Auckland Airport to Rotorua. Just take an Intercity or a Skip bus. There are two companies, so it's called Intercity or Skip bus, and they both pick up from the airport. So literally, you can get off your plane, jump on the bus, and go down to Rotorua. Now the services are, not super regular, so you're gonna need to time your flight and everything, but Intercity or Skip bus. You can find more about that on our website, so it's BackpackerGuide.NZ. Joao, hey, how are you doing? Oh, 2 days until he's flying to Auckland. That is exciting. Did you finish packing your bag? Is your bag like fully packed now? Right. Hamed, hello from Tehran. Hey, how are you doing? How is it going in Iran? Iran, yeah, I think Tehran is in Iran, yeah. Joao has one question. Is it okay to bring with me some analgesic for headache pain? If so, should I have a carry-on my bag? So if you bring some medication, you want to have it in your carry-on so they can check it. And if they are like prescription medicine, you need prescription with you. And if they are not, you still need to declare them when you enter New Zealand, and you're gonna want to like keep the box, like the box and notice, like don't just take like the loose pills, because that's just not what it is. So you and yeah, you should be good to go. But as long as you declare it, basically in biosecurity, they'll tell you yes, you can take them, or no, you can't take them. But if you have declared them, if they say no, you just surrender them and nothing happens to you. But if you don't declare them and they say you couldn't take it, that means you lied to them, and then you have to pay a fine before you can enter New Zealand. Or so it's a bit of a nonsense. So just declare them, you'll be all good.
Yeah, and with any medication or any sort of toiletries or anything like that in your carry-on, just obviously remember to put them in a transparent bag, because that's the way that's the way you have to take it through. Yeah.
Cool. So that's basically it. All right, guys. So if you guys do have more questions,
we both can't talk today.
Oh my God, it's like hot potato in your mouth there.
We need some more water.
Yeah. All right. So while you guys are asking us some more questions, we're going to go for some questions that we got on Twitter. So on Twitter, we had, and I think that's going to be interesting for Richard Lynn, which is about your travel, because it's about gas. All right. So on Twitter, at Livewire446, ask us, I like your energy on the live show. That's not a question, but thank you. I will be driving for 20 days around New Zealand. Can you suggest cheap ways to buy fuel? Is there any fuel cards? Where are cheap fuel around the South Islands and also in the North Island between Wellington and Auckland? So basically, where are cheap fuel prices everywhere in New Zealand? All right, cool. So, sorry, I can give that to you.
Yeah.
All right, so the first thing that I want to say is that gas is rather expensive, like fuel. Gas is rather expensive in New Zealand compared to other countries, because, well, we are kind of a bit of an isolated island. So you need to get them from far and everything like that. So gas is not that cheap. So at the moment, gas is about $1.90, so $1.9 per liter, which per gallon, because I know there's some American right here, $8.63 per gallon. That's around the price right now for petrol, right? I don't think any of you guys are going to be using diesel. It is a little bit cheaper, but there is some taxes to pay per kilometers that you're doing after that, so it makes it about the same price. And most rental companies actually just rent petrol and don't go with diesel. So that's going to be around the price for gas right here in New Zealand. Now, there are some ways to get some discounts on that, and we actually have a bit of a list for you guys, so we'll go over them and tell you how to make it work.
So one way that you can save money on gas is by going to the supermarket, because pretty much all the supermarkets in New Zealand, when you get your receipt, they also print out a fuel voucher, which is usually 6 cents off per litre. It's pretty much always the same.
Yeah, sometimes you have like some days when they give you like 10 cents.
Yeah, I know, but so it's really good to keep a hold of those, and it's usually for a fuel station that's actually close to the supermarket that you've done your shopping from. So that's another way to obviously save some money, like a little bit of money on.
So when you arrive at the supermarket, you do your grocery shopping and you fuel up the car afterward. Don't arrive in town and say, okay, I'm going to do the gas station, I'm going to do the shopping. No, it's shopping first and then gas station.
Another obvious one is obviously closer to the airport you are, the more expensive the fuel is. So just don't fuel up near the airport is a really good way to save money. So one thing that a lot of people kind of forget is that when you need to give back your vehicle back, and usually you pick it up from an airport, very often you pick it up from an airport location. So let's take an example. Let's say I go in the Auckland airport and I rent a car from the airport, and that travel around New Zealand. You have to bring by your car with a full gas tank, because they give it to you with a full gas tank. Otherwise, they will charge you an obscene amount to refuel your car. Now, it doesn't have to be perfectly all the way to the top. It doesn't have to be absolutely spot on perfect, So what you can do is that about maybe 30 minutes before the airport, you can go to a gas station, which is still 30 minutes away from the airport, so you won't have airport prices. And then you fill it up to the maximum, until the pump does clank. And so you'll be all the way kind of like on the top, and then you can bring it back to the location, and you'll be fine. But honestly, you can pay like up to 20 or 30 extra cents at the airport. I would be willing to bet right now that the gas prices around Auckland Airport is like $2.20 to $2.30 at the moment, which is they're absolutely gorging themselves. So keep that in mind, and you don't have to be like so stressed about it. You can give it with a half an hour drive. It's totally fine. Okay. Yeah.
Cool. Next one.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, another way to save money on fuel is to rent a newer vehicle. So obviously newer vehicles are more fuel efficient than older ones. I think it's kind of common knowledge now. But you know, when people are trying to, you try and save money by renting an older vehicle, they usually have much lower daily rates for renting those vehicles, but it can end up being a little bit more expensive where you are paying so much on fuel. And nobody wants to stop every 2 seconds to go to a fuel station anyway. So a good way to avoid that is to just get a newer model of car. And on BackpackerGuide.NZ, we compare loads of different car rental companies, and we actually list all the age ranges of the vehicles in that comparison. So that's a good place to check out some of those age ranges, and we'll make sure to put a link in the description below when we do the rebroadcast of this video. Okay, another way to save money on fuel is to drive a little slower. You don't have to speed around everywhere all the time, because that's another way to guzzle up your fuel pretty much. Got anything else to say about that very short?
It's just really true. Like I mean, you can find studies like that on the internet all the time. Like the slower you drive, the least gas you use, and it's just as simple as that. So if you just enjoy the scenery, basically you're gonna spend less on gas. Why not? You know, I mean, take the time to enjoy it and go for that. All right. So now one part of the question of at Livewire 446 was also what are the kind of the cheapest places to get gas. Now, although I don't have like a specific location because gas prices change twice a day, it's crazy. There are 2 companies which have significantly cheaper gas than other gas stations in the country. So on the southern end, it's NPD, which is I think is Nelson Petroleum Distribution or something like that. NPD, so N for Nelson, P for petrol, and D for distribution. And on the northern end, it's Waitomo. So if you put it on, if you go on your GPS and you try to find the nearest gas station, well, if you have to choose between a BP, which is going to be super expensive, or another Waitomo, we'll try to go toward the Waitomo, it's going to be cheaper. Now, keep in mind, though, that all like the NPD and the Waitomo gas stations are non-serviced ones. So they're all automatic. So you put your card, you put the number, you pay. It's very easy to use, but it's not the place where you can go and grab a pie and Coca-Cola and something like that. But to be fair, buying things at the gas station is crazy because it's always crazy expensive. So don't do that if you're on a budget. So but that would be the 2 places where you will find the cheapest kind of petrol in New Zealand. That would be NPD on the southern end and Waitomo on the northern end. All right. So that kind of wraps it up for gas and prices of gas in New Zealand. I hope that was very helpful to you guys. If it was, click like. If you do have any questions of your own, put in a comment below. We're here to help, and obviously hit subscribe. We have 7,000 subscribers this week. It's a big milestone, and 7,000 people can be wrong. You want to hit subscribe. All right, let's go back to the live chat. Brandon, do you remember Brandon coming to ask me a few questions? So he just finished his trip to New Zealand and went back. Tell us what were your favorite things to do, Brandon. That's so cool that you come back to tell us that your trip was cool.
Yeah, that's so cool.
We have Brian Milligan that says, good morning. Is Abel Tasman going to be dreadfully cold in June? I arrived in Auckland on June the 1st and we're thinking about taking a train to Wellington and then the ferry to Picton and over to Abel Tasman. So basically you'll be in Abel Tasman on the 4th or 5th, right? I don't think it's going to be dreadfully cold. It doesn't get that cold in New Zealand. Everybody's always kind of scared about the cold and everything like that. But in June, I can tell you the temperature if you want to tell him a bit about Tasman.
Well, first of all, June is obviously the first month of winter, so it's not exactly going to be summer weather, but but Abel Tasman is located on the north of the South Island, which actually has one of the warmest climates in New Zealand. So that's actually a good thing, that if you are in New Zealand in June and you're a little bit iffy about being in the cold, then the Abel Tasman National Park is probably one of the best places to be.
So the average temperature in June is going to be about 8 degrees Celsius, which is 45 degrees Fahrenheit. That's been a while we haven't done a weather one. But just to give you an idea, on BackpackerGuide.NZ, Brian, you can go and type weather in June, and you have a full article with all the average temperature of all the areas, also the rains, and also all our tips for that very month in New Zealand. So I think that'd be quite helpful to you, Brian. Kieran is asking, what about traveling by air from Auckland International Airport to Rotorua? Is it more expensive than bus? Tell me the best mode.
It will be more expensive.
The best mode is the bus. When you asked me the best mode the first time, I told you it was the bus. So it's the bus.
It's the bus, yeah.
Definitely cheaper. The flight between Rotorua and Auckland are in very selected time as well. So if you have to try to connect flights, it's even harder than connecting flights and buses. So you should go by bus.
Yeah.
And you need to take Intercity and skip. Hamed say thank you. Ranjit say thanks on the gas. Cool. Brian says that he likes both islands for 15 days, did some great hikes as well, and gas was too expensive. Yeah, we told you that, guys. It's pretty expensive. He'll be back on a working holiday visa. That's pretty cool.
Cool.
Okay, Maxime say he has an existential question about how to travel in New Zealand. Existential question.
Oh, wow.
He's going to spend a whole year there on a working holiday visa scheme, and I'd like to meet people, locals and foreigner. So camper van or hostel? All right, actually, Maxime, we're gonna talk about your questions for quite a wee while because I think it's a very important question. So let's recap. So Maxime on YouTube right now is asking us an existential question about traveling in New Zealand. Maxime is coming on a working holiday visa in New Zealand for an entire year, and he wants to meet people. So he wants to meet local and foreigners, and he's wondering what's the best way to kind of travel. Is it with camper van or hostels? So there are pros and cons in both, and meeting people in New Zealand is always something that people ask us about. So that's why we kind of want to elaborate a little bit on that.
Yeah.
Now, do you want to talk about camper van maybe?
Yeah, so camper vans are a really good way of traveling around and staying in holiday parks and campsites. And that's probably the best way to meet both locals and foreigners, because locals love traveling around in their camper vans and staying in campsites and, you know, going on their Kiwi holiday. So that's actually a really good way to meet locals, and probably a better way of meeting locals than actually staying in hostels. So in terms of the social side of things, that's definitely, you know, that's definitely the way to go if you want to meet locals.
Now, one of the things that you have to keep in mind is that means that you have to go to a holiday park and everything. Usually when you're going to do freedom camping with your camper van, it would be mostly just other travelers, and very often you'll be on your own. Right, so that's if you want to do that, you want to go to proper holiday park, and it's going to be mostly into the high season. So it's the best way to meet locals. Yes, in the high season, meaning in summer, which is in I just blanked.
December, January and February.
I'll forget the month. Okay, so that's the best way to meet locals, but only in December, January, and February, and only if you stay in a holiday park. Now, in this time of the year, the holiday parks are usually a little bit expensive. They're going to cost you about the same price than hostels. Now, the other good side about having a camper van is that you got plenty of flexibilities. You go wherever you want. You don't have to unpack everything. So there is plenty of advantages of traveling with a camper van, and we talked about that very often. If you think about how do you say that? If you think about oh fuck, I forgot my train of thought right here. Anyway,
were you reading a
yeah, I was reading another question. Yeah, sorry, I got completely distracted.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, if you go for hostels, I'm just going to move on to hostels because I lost my train of thought right here. On the other hand, if you move on to hostels, now I really like the fact that hostels actually have a big combination. I was really surprised between locals and foreigners. And I personally find that it is best for all year round meeting people, because there are much more people staying in hostels than staying in camper vans. So usually during the off seasons, you know, especially like in winter, or in a camper van, even in holiday park, you're going to be very much by yourself, right? So when you want to meet people at this point, you're going to be better off for hostels. Now, the great thing with hostels is that you can stay from like one night to 6 months if you want to in the same hostel. There is no problem in how long you can stay in a hostel. And if you're long-termer, you get to stay with other long-termers, so you make some much longer-term friends. I mean, that's how, I was a long-termer in a couple of hostels, and that's how I met some really good friends of mine, which I still hang out with to this day. And you also have kind of a rotation of fresh meats coming regularly, so you can have always some fresh people that want to do things around the town. So you always have, because when you stay long-term in the place, a lot of people are like, I can't be asked going to the museum anymore. I can't do this. But because you have new people coming all the time in a hostel, you always have someone to do something with, which is really cool. So I personally think, I know Laura said the best way was camper van, but I personally think it's hostel, because you can meet some people long-term if you stay long-term, but you always meet some new friends. Almost every day there's new people checking in. Now, as per the local side, well, when you stay in a hostel, actually, there is quite a lot of locals that are using hostels nowadays, and you'll be able to meet them that way. The reason why I wasn't jumping so much on you can meet local in campsites and everything is because, first, it's usually only in a high season, but also because locals, usually when they travel with their family, they're already with their group of friends. So it's a bit harder to kind of meet people that way. Rather than actually meeting other solo travelers. The best way to meet someone is like, hey, you're traveling alone. Hey, you're traveling alone. You want to do something together. Rather than like, hey guys, can I hang out with you? There's already a group. So it's a bit harder to approach a group, basically. And if you go to a holiday park, and usually locals will be in group, it's very rare to have locals just traveling by themselves. So that's why I personally prefer hostel, because that is the accommodation of choice. That is the choice of usually solo travelers, and that's my opinion on that. On top of it, hostel, like in a holiday park, a lot of people will cook in their own camper vans or with their own facilities, while in hostel everybody has to cook in the same place, and that's the kitchen. And you can see my smile right now. The best way to meet people is the hostel kitchen. Seriously, go cook when everybody is cooking over there. Borrow a bit of salt, or offer them a pan, or get someone to taste your food, or chit chat about this. It's the place of socializing. Food is all about being social, and making food in a hostel even more. So I personally think that the single best place to meet people in the entire country is a hostel kitchen. And so this is for this reason that I personally think that hostels will be the best way to go. It has plenty of flexibility and all that. Anyway, the defenses rest.
Yeah, absolutely. And also on top of that, the type of accommodation most people staying in hostels are the dorm rooms, which again is a social environment. Whereas when you're in a camper van, you're in your own space. You're not that everyone's sort of like in their own space, and there's only very small opportunities to meet people in holiday parks. So you actually get a lot more opportunity to be social in hostels as well.
All right, so that's our take on basically what's the best mode of transportation actually, it just made me think that if you're in a hostel, if you go from hostel to hostel, you can take a bus, and the bus is a great way to meet people. So here you go.
There we go.
I'm even right. Anyway, that's our take on what is the best kind of way to meet people in New Zealand. If you have questions on your own, in the comment below. If you're live right now, click like, click subscribe, and put your question in the live chat. And if you find this useful, put some questions in the comments so we can get to it next week.
Sweet.
All right. Going back to the live chat, Brian says thank you. So you're welcome, Brian. Awesome. Maxime says, is it easy to book a hostel in a short time, like 15 hours before? Yeah, honestly, it's not
in most cases, yeah.
If you go if you do Auckland in summer, or Queenstown in summer, it's gonna be a bit harder and everything. But nowadays, it is kind of easy. You just go on our website on BackpackerGuide.NZ, and then you check what are our recommendations for hostels in all the different places, because we actually have a list of what are the best hostels in Queenstown, this and that. And you click on the link, you go to booking.com, you book it straight away. It's super easy as. Good morning, Stone Skin. Again, a million emojis. Every day, every Sunday, Stone Skin.
Oh, it's nice of him to pop in and say hi before he goes to bed.
Oh, how late is it for you guys?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So if you guys have any extra questions, make sure to put them in the comments below. And in the meantime, we're going to keep going with some more questions that we received. All right, so let's talk about camper vans, actually, since we already started talking about it.
Yeah, why not?
So on YouTube, we had Shattered Reality.
Ooh,
that asks, what are the overnight parking options in Queenstown? The PDF map on the government website is hard to understand. I think they mean camping overnight, camping.
Probably. There is a map on the Queenstown website for camping, which is hard to understand. I totally agree with you.
Yeah. All right, cool. So let's go about camping, base campsites in Queenstown. So while we get started right here, I just want to preface and explain that the Queenstown Council and the politician in charge of Queenstown really hate campers, right? They genuinely do not like them. They keep on trying to push them away and away and away from Queenstown. Those politicians want the free, like the cheap labor that all the backpackers can bring, you know, in the hospital industry and all of that, but they want to make their life miserable. We have discussions with those guys very, like, you know, and very sparse intervals because they really don't like us, but yeah, they just do not like campers. So just know that you're not necessarily going to be super welcome as a freedom camper in Queenstown.
Yeah.
But yeah, so for this reason, basically, they're pushing the boundaries of freedom camping allocations further and further away from town, making it like very, very far away from town in some cases. So your best bet as a camper will be to go to one of the two holiday. Is it two holiday parks in town?
No, there are more than two. So there's two within. Yeah. So there's two within the centre of Queenstown. Shush now. There's two within the centre of Queenstown, and then there is a top 10 holiday park on the outskirts towards Arthur's Point. So that's probably your best, most convenient option for camping in a camper van, which is going to be a little bit expensive, probably in comparison to other holiday parks in New Zealand. But I mean, when in Queenstown, it's not exactly a cheap town to go to. So
yeah. So that's going to be your best bet and the easiest one to get in town and have like decent facilities, right? Then what we're going to be doing is that I'm just going to tell you 5 basically places where actually probably 4 or 5 places where you can camp, and Laura's going to tell you a bit more information about that. So the first one is John's Bay.
Okay, so this is actually quite a nice scenic place to go camp for the night, but it is about 30 minutes drive outside of Queenstown, and that's along the beautiful Lake Wakatipu, so you can go and freedom camp on the shores, which is pretty cool. And yeah, that's along the Queenstown and Glenorchy road. So you could also couple that with a trip the next day going toward Glenorchy, which is a really stunning, quite secluded area along Lake Wakatipu, which is where many of the Lord of the Rings scenes were filmed. So, but don't get me started on that, because I'll start talking forever about Lord of the Rings. So you do need to have a self-contained vehicle to camp there, and the maximum amount of time that you can stay there is for 4 nights.
All right, the next one is 25 Mile Stream.
Okay, so this is actually another freedom camping spot, just a little bit further away from Michael John's Bay, however you pronounce that. So again, going a little bit further down that Glenorchy road, there's another nice little bay spot where you can go and camp for the night. And again, you need to have a self-contained vehicle. And actually, we do have a video explaining what self-contained it actually is, which we'll link up in the description when we do the this video rebroadcasted again. And yeah, and you can only stay there for a maximum of 4 nights.
All right, Kawarau Car Park.
Okay.
Kawarau Bridge Car Park. Sorry.
This is probably one of the more convenient places to go and freedom camp for the night, and this is where the Kawarau Bridge bungee jump is. So you can actually park there overnight, and they do have little symbols for camper vans, which you need to park in those spots at that car park.
There's not that many spots though; it's rather limited.
Yeah, there is only, I think, only about 4 or 5 spots. So do make sure that you get in there early if you do really want to camp there. And
you can book. It's first in, first served.
Exactly. Yeah. So that is about 25 minutes to 30 minutes outside of Queenstown again. So again, it's not a central location or anything, but that could be a good place to go. And get up early the next morning and go do a bungee jump.
And the last one is the Gippsland Valley.
Yeah, so Gippsland Valley is actually along the same road as the Kawarau River Bridge, and this is really known for its wine region and stuff like that. So you can go and try out some wine while you're there, but you can also camp, well, you can also freedom camp in a very small location, pretty much on the outskirts of Queenstown. I think it's, how long is it away? It's like 30 to 40 minutes drive away from Queenstown. So, I mean, you'll get that sort of wilderness feel to the place. Like, you've got a beautiful river beside you, you've got like mountains around you, but in terms of convenience, this one is probably would be my last sort of go-to. The other freedom camping spots we just mentioned, they're probably a little better than this one. So,
well, I don't know. I don't know if you have to fight for like 4 spots. You know, I mean, I'd rather get something that I know I'm going to get a spot in.
But it is on the same road as the Kawarau Road. So, I mean, the Kawarau River Bridge. So you go take a look and see in that car park if there's any spaces, and if not, you can go further up to the Gippsland Valley. And basically the location you can freedom camp is pretty much around a place called Victoria Flats Road. So just keep that in mind, put that in your GPS, Victoria Flats Road, and around there is when you can park up for the night for free. I think you will have to have a self-contained vehicle though. Yeah.
All right, so that's basically our take on the different places where you can freedom camp at night in Queenstown. Queenstown, they just want your money. That is pretty much it. Anyway, like and subscribe, and if you have questions of your own, put them in the comment below.
Do you want to put that on the
Yeah,
side?
thank you very much for that. All right, what else is happening in the live chat? You want to check? Sanjeev wants a job in New Zealand. Check out our job article, Sanjeev.
Check out our job listings on BackpackerGuide.NZ. We also have a
job listing, job article. Get
yeah.
yourself a visa. Check out the other videos. We covered that about 1 million times.
Yeah.
Hamed is asking for community in New Zealand for cycle tourists. I think there is a cycle touring Facebook group which you may want to join. New Zealanders are really into biking.
Yeah.
They love that. So there is going to be some communities around that for sure. I mean, even on Backpacker Guide, we do have so many different articles about different mountain biking areas of New Zealand. We even have some videos on this channel with the best mountain biking areas. We actually had some people that ask us. They want to come in New Zealand for a wee while and ask us what are the best places for them to base themselves for mountain biking. So we answer this question. So maybe check out the channel as well. And we have plenty of different videos in there as well. Cool. Best place to walk through.
Porirua. Is that where the timber trail is?
I think that's what he's talking about. Porirua.
Porirua. I think that's where the timber trail is. If that's the walk you're talking about, yeah. So
okay.
Yeah. Well, there's
the exact address. Okay, the reason why we're struggling right here is because there is no an address for the timber trail. You're like, it's middle of the wild. If you go on the timber trail website, they actually have the direction of where you need to go.
Yeah, they do.
There's no address for that. There's just, there's no street, right? You're going to drag gravel and then some mud and everything. So, go on our website, type timber trail, and you'll find plenty of information in there. Or even go on the timber trail website itself, and you'll have all the information right here. There is no exact address. It's just a location.
Yeah. It will be well signed though, because it is a very popular hike and bike trail. So it's very well signposted when you get to the area. You just basically need to find. You'll get some instructions. Also, the Timber Trail Lodge. If you can't find information on the Timber Trail website, look on the Timber Trail Lodge website, and that provides some more information about the Timber Trail.
Yeah. All right, while you guys are coming up with some more questions, we're going to go for another one that we received. And this one was on Twitter from LiveWire446. I think we just got a question from...
Second question from LiveWire.
Cool.
He's a lucky guy today.
Yeah. So the question is it safe to drive to Milford Sound Road in early April? Is there any off-peak traffic time? I can drive down and cruise the next day. And any suggestion on the cruise as well? So basically, we're going to go through what are the best cruises option in Milford Sound and the road down to Milford Sound as well. All right. So the first thing I need to keep in mind is that the drive down to Milford Sound is actually quite long. But it's a very scenic and absolutely gorgeous drive. Actually, in fact, in this very channel right here, when we did New Zealand's Biggest Gap here, we actually did an entire episode of just driving down to Milford Sound because there's so many stops to do along the way, and we think it's worth doing in an entire day. So check out that episode. We stop in awesome places like Ellington Valley, Mirror Lakes, and the Chasm. But Laura is going to tell you more about that beautiful road.
Yeah, so most people take this journey from Queenstown, which personally I would avoid doing. I would actually go down to Tiana, which is about halfway on the drive, which otherwise would take you, 5 hours to drive down there and 5 hours back, which is a really long day. So since Livewire, it looks like you're going in a camper van or a car, a good option is to spend the night over in Tianau, which is a small town just on the outskirts of the Fiordland National Park. Stay there overnight and then begin your journey on the road towards Milford Sound the very next day. And on that road, there's actually so much to see. Some of the highlights are a place called the Mirror Lakes, very well signposted off the side of the road, with plenty of time before you actually reach the Mirror Lakes. So you'll get to go into a car park just on the side of, well, some just off-road parking on the side of the road. Very quick, like 5-minute walk. It's not even a walk. It's just this beautiful lake on the side of the road, which you barely have to walk to. There's also the Eglinton Valley, which is this vast, amazing landscape where actually I think the new Mission Impossible film was filmed. So yeah, it's a really stunning area to get some photos.
It smells like Tom Cruise.
Thanks for that addition, Robin. And also there's a really awesome walk called the Chasm, where you get to see like this river which has been eroded away, and basically it's formed this huge chasm, which is really awesome to see. It has a beautiful forest as well. But on BackpackerGuide.NZ, we have an article which is the 15 stops to do.
It's 20, isn't it?
Is it 20? It's an obscene amount of stops basically on the Milford Sound Road. So we'll link up in the rebroadcast of this video, and we'll put it in the description below so you can check that out for all the different stops you can do. But I would, definitely recommend spending a whole day doing that road trip, because there's so much to see along the way and a lot of different hikes to do as well. And if you're traveling in a camper van, or not, you can actually stay in the Milford Sound area overnight. There's a place called Guns Camp. There's the Milford Sound Lodge. There's also some Department of Conservation campsites. If you're traveling in a camper van, you can stay there. So there's definitely the option to stay around the Milford Sound area for the night.
Yeah. All right. So now about the Milford Sound cruise. That is what almost everybody will be doing when coming to the South Island of New Zealand. It's a must-see. It's absolutely gorgeous, and it's really fantastic. Now, there are quite a few companies which are actually operating cruises down there. There's really a huge amount of cruises, and they all go pretty much around the same routes, right? Let's be honest. And we'll go through the route in a minute. But basically, you get Juicy Cruise, you get Cruise Milford, you get Mitra Peak Cruises, you get Real Journeys and Go Ranch, same company. You get Southern Discoveries, and they pretty much all do the count of the same cruise, and that's pretty much it. The only different one will be kind of the one that does an overnight. So if you have an option to do an overnight cruise, so then that'd be slightly bit different. Southern Discoveries, if you do the cruise with them, they're highly likely to stop at the underwater observatory because they own it. So you can probably go there and see that. It's a really cool place to visit, but there are other options to visit that as well. But Southern Discovery will give you the extra observatory. The two cheapest ones usually are going to be Juicy and Go Ranch. They're going to fight for like the cheapest prices. Which one else is different? Real Journeys will offer multiple different cruises, but you're going to have one which is a scenic cruise and one which is a nature cruise. But they're pretty much the same thing, and you see pretty much the same spots. They just have a very different commentary along the way. Is there anything else that stands out, or should we go through what
I think that pretty much,
all right. But yeah, so the options are plentiful. So literally just pick the one. Either budget, if you're into budget, you go for that. If you want to see the observation, underwater observatory, you go with Southern Journey. And if you feel like a different kind of commentary, you go with Real Journeys. But you're gonna see basically about the same spot, which are.
Well, first of all, you'll see Sinbad Gully, which is kind of one of the first things that you see on the Milford Sound cruise. It's just a huge sort of valley on the side, on the water side, which is really cool. Obviously, one of the big highlights is Mitra Peak, which is the highest mountain in Milford Sound, and that's like the sort of focus of all your photos when you're doing the cruise. There's Copper Point, which I think is the narrowest point of Milford Sound, where if it's a windy day, you'll definitely feel it. There's a lot of really cool. There's a lot of really cool waterfalls to see along the way. One of the biggest ones is Bowen Falls, which is you can actually take a boat there and do a walk there now, which is pretty cool. And there's also Fairy Falls, Bridal Veil Falls, or if it's raining, loads of waterfalls.
Check out a video of us doing a cruise in Milford Sound. We went with Real Journey, and it was an absolutely drenched full, like rainy, crazy day, and we had an absolute blast. We got the wettest I've been in my entire life, I think. We were literally pouring down water from our shoes. Like, it was absolutely insane. So check this video out. It's linked in the description below, and also on our channel. Just, you know, use the search bar and type Milford Sound Cruise. Yeah.
And another, obviously, one of the probably the most memorable waterfalls of Milford Sound is Stirling Falls, because all the boats literally try and go as close as they can underneath this huge waterfall. So no matter what cruise you're on, they all do the same thing. They all go as close as they can to this waterfall, and it's pretty fun. Get onto the front of the boat when they do that, and you'll get absolutely sprayed with nice fresh mountain water. So that's always cool. There's a few wildlife that you could be seeing along the way. Well, almost 100% of the time you'll see seals on Seal Rock. And there is a little rock with some seals that like to lie on there, and that's really cool to go and check out. If you're lucky, you'll see pods of bottlenose dolphins, which we've done quite a few Milford Sound cruises now, and we've seen them about half the time. They come along and start swimming alongside the boat. Harrison Cove, I think that's where the underwater observatory is. And there's the Cascade Range, which when it's raining, that's when everything starts to cascade, and there's loads of waterfalls everywhere.
Insane,
So there's loads of different things to see, and there'll be commentary on your boat along the way. I think especially with Real Journeys, they give you, actually with Juicy Cruise as well, they give you a little leaflet with all the points on the map, which shows you all the highlights of Milford Sound. So there's a lot to see along the way, and you'll be taking plenty of photos.
So it's really awesome to visit Milford Sound for sure. And if you can allocate a little bit of time, you can definitely avoid the crowds. Now, there was a question as well. I mean, there was a question. There was one part of your question as well, which was like, when is the kind of off-peak time? So the thing that you have to know is that, well, the Milford Road is rather small, that is for sure. And there is a lot of bus tours going down there, right? Just because it's such a highlight of your trip, almost everybody goes there. Now, if you take the bus down there, well, you know, it doesn't matter when you're driving, but if you're driving on your own, if you want to leave a little bit later, so if you leave past 10 o'clock, there's going to be almost no buses there anymore. So if you drive, you know, if you drive down there by like around 10 or 11, you're going to be able to take all your time going down there. There's going to be no one else, and you're basically going to be reversing it. If you stay at night over there in Milford Sound, you can do the first cruise, for example, and then you can drive back up. And when you drive back up in the morning, there's literally no one driving back up, which is really awesome. So that may be like the best. That's basically the best option that I would be doing. You were asking for the off-peak time. Those are it. Anyway, any questions of your own in the comment below, like and subscribe. And obviously, we also put a lot of links in the description of these videos for you to be able to dive a little bit deeper into this question. We do that on every single one of our videos. So again, always check the description of every single one of our videos for plenty of links. All right, going back to the live chat, Natalia popped in to say hi. She just finished a 3 weeks trip in New Zealand. That's pretty cool, she said it was awesome, and she thanks us for all our helpful tips and the website.
You are very welcome.
I asked her what was her favorite spot, and she said it's too difficult to choose only one or two, but we love the southern. I think I remember, Natalia, you were asking us what the best this or the best that. So you ask us to pick, but you don't
know how hard it is to answer those questions.
There you go. I think that's unfair. Richard is asking, any experience with Apex car rental? They seem good online, but want to make sure they're legit.
They are legit. They are a real company.
They do exist for sure. They are obviously they're the cheap end of the. I
think they're cheap. I think they're mid-range, aren't they?
Really?
I think they are mid-range.
Oh, they can't look cheap.
Okay.
Oopsie. But they are on the let's say mid to low range of the car rental in New Zealand. But they do exist, and they're a company, and they're going to give you a car. I
mean, if you found a good deal, then sure.
Of course. You know what I mean? Especially like around this time of the year, so you're about to travel in July. That's a good thing. That's a good thing anyway. You know, you have all the cheap deals because it's winter. And so everybody's
but make sure you do compare with plenty of other car rental companies as well, because there really is a lot in New Zealand. And like I mentioned before on BackpackerGuide.NZ, we have huge comparison articles on like all the different car and camper van rental companies in New Zealand, or even comparisons between Auckland and Christchurch.
Yeah.
So wherever you're starting, just make sure you compare.
One of the things I will compare the most is definitely the age of the vehicle. I know we really talked about that today, but the age of the vehicle is so important, just because it will make a massive difference of your gas bill.
Yeah.
And you know, it is,
and the reliability of the car as well.
Because, you know, if you come to New Zealand for only 3 weeks and your vehicle break, even if they replace the vehicle, you lost 3 days. To me, it's such a huge amount of time in New Zealand. You know, you will realize coming to New Zealand. I mean, Natalie, I know you're right here. Please just back me up. But tell people, when you leave New Zealand, you're going to regret not having longer in the country. I mean, that's the thing that we hear from the most people. You know, Brandon, I'm pretty sure, will agree as well.
Well, he wants to come back.
Brendan,
holiday
literally, that's the example. Brendan just came and say that he just finished his 1 week in New Zealand, and he's like, okay, I didn't have enough time. I'm coming back on a work holiday. That's an entire year visa. So everybody always regret not having longer. So I want to make sure that my vehicle is going to give me the most I can do around the country, because here you go, Natalia already says that she'll be back as well. So, you know, I think the age range of the vehicle is so important. In my personal opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Anyhow, all right, cool. Is there any other questions that we forget? Quick fire questions, guys. We have an extra 5 minutes. Anything you want to ask it now, or hold your peace forever. I want to say. Is there anything that I missed on the asking stuff? No, I didn't miss anything. All right, cool. So another thing that has come up quite regularly, because we obviously do manage quite a few Facebook groups, and a lot of people are coming back to really worried about winter in New Zealand. So it's something I just want to address, because that's also like a couple of things that we talked about today. Winter is not that harsh in New Zealand. So I wanted to address that. I was hoping someone would ask a question about that a bit more. But a lot of people think that winter is going to be absolutely dreadful, and we're going to be under 2 meters of snow. And, because yes, New Zealand is branded as one of the closest country to the Antarctic. Antarctic, yes, sorry, Antarctic. So my brain is not switched on today. But it doesn't get that cold, okay? There is very rarely any town that's going to be below 0 for a long time, and then, you know, those kind of things, right? So yes, it is much colder, but usually what it is mostly it's much wetter. Yeah. And so because it's much wetter, you know, you want to make sure you pack the decent gear. So have waterproof shoes, waterproof jackets, just those kind of things. But it doesn't get that cold. And we love traveling in New Zealand in winter, because you get the whole country for yourself. Yeah. So don't be too afraid, and don't decide like, you know, oh my gosh, I'm really scared. Like I've seen on the Facebook group some people literally asking they should cancel their trip. So, you know, kind of like, guys, just take a chill pill, relax. There is winter in every country. It's just get a little colder than the rest of the time. And people are still traveling around New Zealand. You know, there is almost 5 million people are coming to travel in New Zealand all the time. So, yeah. Oh, here you go. Someone asked about where to buy good gears for winter travel in New Zealand. So, hi, is it possible to go to the corner of the Stewart Islands? Okay, cool. All right, a couple of things. Heshan, the corner of Stewart Island, which corner are you talking about? And yes, there is plenty of hiking trail around. You just need to be well prepared with a lot of gears.
Most of Stewart Island, Stewart Island doesn't have very many roads, but it does have a lot of hiking trails. So if you're planning, you can get to many corners of Stewart Island through all the hiking trails, which are multi-day hikes.
Yes. Yeah. And Been Everywhere ask where to buy good gears for winter travel in New Zealand. Well, Been Everywhere, you can buy good gears in shops like Torpedo 7, Mountain Warehouse, Kathmandu, Backpack, Bivouac. So all those ones are outdoor gear stores in New Zealand. You'll be able to get some great waterproof jackets, waterproof bag, waterproof shoes. That is the 3 essentials that you need.
And you can also, a really big thing in New Zealand is having merino wool layers. This is really good because it's a breathable fabric, but also keeps you super warm as well. So it's definitely worth packing some extra layers. And especially when we were doing our 365 days of 365 activities, we
lived in our thermals.
Yeah, we pretty much lived in them. And we even had like some underlayers for our trousers. So we had like our hiking pants, and then underneath we had our merino wool layers. So it is really handy to have those extra layers, and it just completely takes the chill off the day and makes it easy.
It's quite incredible. Like literally just those merino wool layers, because it's such a different kind of wool, it takes the chill out. Like you never get chilly. it's really awesome. Like, you know, sometimes you kind of like, oh man, you know, it's a bit of a dreadful day and everything.
Yeah.
Like that. But I had like really like, so this is merino wool as well, but I had a thermal underlayer on the top and the thermal underlayer at the bottom.
Yeah.
And man, it was absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
I just, we still wear it most of the time. We go on hikes and everything like that. And on top of it, it doesn't keep you too warm as well. So if you start getting warm, it's kind of breathable as well.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
But we lived in that, and I cannot stress enough. I think this is the single best item I've packed for that trip.
Yeah.
Those merino wool
and
layers.
they fold up so small as
Yeah,
well,
they're tiny,
so
yeah.
they don't take any space in your backpack. So you might as well pack a few layers. Yeah,
A few, yeah,
just a few.
To be fair, on the top of it, merino wool actually doesn't smell too bad.
Yeah.
So you know, obviously you need to wash it. It's clothing. But,
Please wash your clothes.
Please don't be that smelly one in the hostel.
Yeah.
There's always one. But wash your clothes. But like merino wool actually doesn't smell too bad. It doesn't retain odor too bad. So for this reason, I think it's a must-have so bad. So like you absolutely need to have it. I just love it.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So thank you very much for joining us, guys. If you do have some more questions, put them in the comments of any of the videos on YouTube, because this is where we pick our questions to answer during our live sessions. Or obviously join us live on YouTube every Sunday. That is 8 a.m. New Zealand time. If you are anywhere else in the world, if you're in India, it's midnight. I'm sorry. But if you are in UK or France, it is 7 p.m. on Saturday, 7 p.m. Or if you are doing daylight savings, maybe 8 or something, just Google it, try to figure it out. It's 8 a.m. New Zealand time. And if you are in the USA, it is 2 p.m. EST and 11 a.m. PST. Again, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much for making 7,000 subscribers on our channel. We are stoked to have you all on board, and we'll see you next week.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
See you.